Welcome everyone to Chibi Podcast. This is Miles, your tech guy, and today we're going to be going over One Piece Stampede, the movie. I'm going to do a slight review with some spoilers, and just kind of tell you my overall thoughts about the movie and what I thought. So, for people listening to this, they probably know that I'm a really huge fan of One Piece, so again, I apologize, I'm late on actually doing a video for this. So anyway, let's just get right into it. So the movie, just so everybody kind of knows, I mostly just read the manga. I kind of stopped watching the anime after the Dressrosa arc. It was just so fillerish, especially with the Coliseum arc. It was just, or the the Coliseum fights. They were just fillerizing the hell out of it. I just was, the manga was getting so far ahead, I just couldn't do it. So anyways, manga's been great, and when I went in with my buddy, he was letting me know that before the Wano arc, they kind of had like a side kind of a filler arc that kind of showcased this movie and kind of the plot of where they're going into this, which I didn't know. So I guess it's kind of like there's this Pirates Expo, right, where all these pirates come together all over the world, and they're going to do this huge, big treasure hunt. Now, the reason why this is intriguing is this treasure belonged to the Pirate King, Goldie Rogers. So that was cool, and to find out what it is, right, was kind of what you kind of lead it up to. And the animation was amazing. It reminded me of how do I say it? So I mean, obviously One Piece was inspired by Dragon Ball, right? Like the art style, Trigun, stuff like that, right? But this one was very reminiscent of the old school Dragon Ball art, but like in modern day like cleanup. I don't know, it just felt very smooth. There's a lot of the fighting scenes, there wasn't like a lot of CGI, like a lot of this was all hand drawn, and that's what I really respect. I mean, you'd see the money in this movie. I mean, it was just so much animation of just hand drawn movements to punches to like Luffy's expressions, everything. But anyway, one of the funnest parts about this movie that I liked, I wouldn't say it's my favorite movie, I'll just throw that out there right now of all the One Piece movies, but it's very enjoyable. They had a lot of fan service in this, and when I say fan service, I'm not talking about the girls' fun parts, put it mildly. I mean fan service as in, you get like every damn character we've ever seen from like the beginning of One Piece, and that was awesome. Especially it's like, I'm sure the anime is probably following similar routes because obviously I'm ahead of the manga, but you don't see a lot of like characters, so I'll just kind of do some names here, right? You don't really get to see Buggy anymore, right? And he was a really fun kind of villain that I really liked. He's hilarious. You get to see Smoker. He's actually a big part in helping with kind of the hero's journey and fighting the main villain, which I'll get to later. Boa Hancock, one of my all-time freaking favorite characters. Absolutely love Boa. Best girl, in my opinion. Mihawk. Absolutely love Mihawk, especially after like Zoro did training with him. You didn't really see him again. That was awesome to see. You know, they had all these different characters that appeared. Tashigi was in there as well. I absolutely love Tashigi. She's amazing. One of my all-time favorites, too, that they've created is Bartolomeo. He was in there, and he was a great comic relief. Unbelievable. Rob Lucci, which I was not expecting. They just threw so much out here. And anyway, it's just a typical adventure, you know, Luffy just wants to go on another adventure, etc., etc. So, where the movie kind of kicks in is, like, you get all these different pirates. Obviously, you're going to see, like, you know, Law and Kid and Killer and all these, like, worst generation type guys, you know. Anyway, you see all these different, like, all these like main other pirates are all come together, and they do kind of reference Luffy's strengths because his crew that he kind of accumulated from the Dressrosa arc with all the extra pirate crews from the Coliseum. They kind of address him as like a fifth emperor. They see Luffy as like a fifth emperor, although we all know he's not fifth emperor necessarily by strengths, but within like you know, the people that follow him, you know, in numbers per se. Although if you're reading the manga, you can kind of see Luffy's getting even stronger. But I was also wondering, sometimes with Japan, they're a little different when it comes to, it's hardly a spoiler, I guess, because it is manga out there, and I didn't know if they were going to just kind of skip ahead where the anime's at in the Wano arc and kind of go to where current manga is and see kind of Luffy's growth, I'll say, without spoiling much. And but they didn't. They kept it definitely in line before the Wano arc with Luffy's strengths from what you guys know, like the Snake Man and stuff like that, what you've seen with Gear 4. So they kept it in line with that. The fight scenes were absolutely amazing. It was really cool to see like Sanji fight Smoker. That was really cool, like referencing that he uses hockey and he's able to fight Smoker now with his devil fruit. That was great. I don't know, this movie just had a lot of good stuff. I mean, I guess I'll just get to the most exciting part, right? This is where it can almost fit into canon, is what I'll kind of, that's what I'm going to kind of look at it. I almost feel like this could fit into canon. So the main villain in this movie was Douglas Bullet, and Bullet was he was one of the subordinates of Roger's crew, right? Like, he's supposed to be like up there with Raleigh, and like he's supposed to be one of like the strongest freaking pirates alive, and he was locked down in Impel Down like 20 years ago. And you find out, I think Sengoku and Garp put him, I think they're the one they were able to get him into Impel Down. There's a huge like war and they were able to capture him, but he was able to break out of the prison when Luffy was fighting Blackbeard or Teach, whatever you want to call him. Apparently when they were fighting back in the day before the whole I don't want to get into the sad A stuff, but you know where I'm going with it. Let's continue. So anyway, Douglas Bullet, right? He's like he's under the category right below Roger's crew, right? So very freaking strong, and you find out he's just been building up strengths and planning this huge thing where he wants to have the world see him as the strongest pirate of all time. He wants to be recognized past Roger. He wants to be shown as stronger than Roger. And they did some cool little flashbacks they kind of got to, and you kind of see how he's defeated by Roger, so he's able to, that's kind of what made him join and wanted to be a successor to him and stuff like that, right? And his devil fruit was very interesting. It was the paramecia. It was a paramecia type fruit, I believe. It allowed him to like any objects that he saw, he could like grab and kind of turn into whatever he thought in his mind, right? Like if he wants to become like a big giant or like a dragon, like he could do whatever he wanted. That's kind of what his fruit was, and it was really cool. Anyway, he became like this big beast. But before then, they just kind of had a regular fight. Like Luffy did a forced gear, and he came to fight him, and that got really cool. But he still was beating Luffy like nothing. And anyway, then he wanted to get more powerful. All the pirates are like fighting him at the same time, like doing this huge thing where they're challenging him one-on-one fights, and he's just smashing through everyone like it's freaking nothing. And anyway, he gets really big. It's like this armor on, turns this huge giant, and he's just decimating this island. And it just turns into a really cool fight where like Luffy's almost dead. Usopp comes in, gives an emotional moment where, he almost dies. Luffy sees that, wants to protect his friends, gets kind of more powerful from his emotion. The typical anime trope stuff. Not that Luffy beats him still takes a lot of stuff. They get the, the Marines start coming to, and that's when Boa shows up. There's some great humor between Luffy. God, man, this movie just had a lot of fan service. It was just really for the fans, and I wouldn't say the story was the best, right? I mean, mostly Bullet wanted to get like a buster call called from the Marines so he could like destroy all the Marines so everybody could see that he's the most powerful of all time. But anyway, it turns into like Luffy obviously beats him, right? He gets his he goes to like Gear 4, and he gets his hand like super freaking like a mountain huge and just punches him like right out of his transformation. It was amazing. The animation in that, the music, everything was so freaking good. But the part I want to touch on, because I'm gonna try and wrap this up, because you should definitely go see this movie. It's a lot of fun. The treasure we find out from Roger was an eternal post that points to the One Piece treasure. And anyways, the pirates want to come and get that treasure from him, and the Marines at the very end of the movie, and Luffy has the eternal pose, and he goes and he just freaking crushes it, and everybody's like, what the hell, why did you do that? And our audience just started freaking out. Like, you heard, they're like, no, what the fuck? Like, everybody's flipping out, and there's just chatter going on like in the theater like crazy. Everybody's pissed, like, no. And I was saying no, it was bad. I was like, no, One Piece. But then Luffy did his typical character thing, and it made sense, and I liked what he said. He pretty much was saying there's no shortcut, is kind of what he's getting at, to get to the One Piece. He's not going to find One Piece by doing a cheat. His story is the adventure of finding the One Piece, become the Pirate King, and there's no easy or quick way to do that. And I like that. And it's fitting of Luffy, and it makes sense. And then you see a flashback with Bullet and Roger, where I don't know if Bullet was in the scene now that I think of it. You see his crewmates, and they're like saying they can't believe that somebody made a eternal pose to One Piece, and then Roger found out. He's like, why would you do that? He's like, you can't just, there's no journey to finding the One Piece easy or whatever like that. And he grabs the post and throws it in the ocean and kind of leaves it there. So that's kind of how it ends with that, and it was just a really cool thing where this would kind of fit into canon if they want, kind of not, with maybe some of the strength stuff, but I don't know. I guess they could. I guess I don't know how you want to see it, but overall I'd probably give it a 7.8 out of 10. I know it's not really high, but it's just the problem was the animation was so good, the fighting was so good, I'd call it a lot of fan service, a lot of cool things, a lot of cool fights, really cool villain. I get it. But as for story, it's just some guy just wanting to prove how powerful he was and get everybody pissed off and fight him in the end. That's just an excuse for a huge fight scene for a whole movie, which is great. But if I'm comparing a whole movie just to fight, you know, like the Broly movie from Dragon Ball Z, for example, or Dragon Ball Super, sorry, that had a better development. I felt was a story, even though it was an excuse just to have them fight. It did develop Broly's character, right? It gave you felt for the character, where I didn't feel like this Bullet character I felt as much. It's cool he's with Roger's crew, but his motives didn't really do much for me, you know? I just felt like if you're going to go to a movie where it's all fighting and anime, if it's going to be like a masterpiece, have kind of a cool story that kind of develops and kind of has a lot of twists and turns, and this one I didn't feel had a lot of that. But other than that, it's just more of like a fun, entertaining One Piece movie. You know, that's kind of how I guess I see the one, how I see this particular One Piece movie. I saw Z was still my personal favorite, but that's kind of where I stand on that one. Gold was good, but I still think Z was the best. But anyway, that is all I got. Leave some comments in the video and let me know what you thought of the movie. I like to talk to you guys. I love One Piece and love discussing it. Anyway, this is Roger, Tech Guy, and this is Chibi No Podcast.